Well, hello and welcome everyone. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to one of those spontaneous, you know, live, somewhat live, I guess. No one may be tuning in. That's fine. But I like to do these live and just kind of hang out and, just it's a quiet Sunday morning where I am in Canada. It's beautiful. It's snow starting to come down. So I thought it was a good time to do a review and kind of overview of an absolutely fantastic series, the Sundered Nation trilogy by Von Roycroft. This is the first book, The Severing Sun. And actually, I might as well just show off the whole, because the covers are gorgeous. Just, again, take a look at that cover. That's book one, The Severing Sun. It's got some fabulous artwork, great cover design. This is book two, Bold Ascension. See it there. Yeah, absolutely fabulous. And this is the book that I just recently read. So I finally finished reading the trilogy. It is a complete series, and this is Destiny's Doom. This is the concluding book in the trilogy. So Von Roycroft is a brilliant author. If you have an opportunity, you're interested, check out my 6 Elemental interviews with the wonderful Vaughn. He is an amazing person. Again, a brilliant author, and I have to thank Vaughn, of course, for writing such an incredible series, but also I have to thank him for the fact that he's definitely added a series which will figure in my top indie or self-published science fiction and fantasy series of all time. This series definitely will be on that list. It is that good. So I'm not sure if anybody has seen my video with my my top indie series and how I'm bemoaning that I haven't read enough completed indie fantasy series to make the list. There's some really amazing series that I know will make my list, and no fault of the authors. It just isn't finished yet. But when it is finished, I know it'll go on there. But finally, I have another series with this amazing Sundered Nation. So because of that, I will have the opportunity when I update that list to have that on there. And I also won't need to put more than one series from the same author on the list, for example. So thanks, Vaughn, for cleaning up my top indie science fiction fantasy list for me. Now that you've made this incredible series and finished it, and now that I have read it. So quickly, let's talk about this series. So Sundered Nation, it's an epic fantasy trilogy again by Von Roycroft. The main thing you need to know about this is that it is inspired by essentially the Rome's fall and decline, and the conflicts between Rome and the Goth tribes, their Germanic Goth tribes. So Von Roycroft's fictional tribes are inspired by those real tribes, such as the Visigoths and the Vandals, etc. So he has it's the way Guy Gavriel Kay does like an alternate type history, for example. It's somewhat similar. This series is just absolutely amazing. So to tell you a bit what it's about, to continue with what it's about, it basically revolves around this this figure amongst these tribes who's known as the bringer of Uranian. So they're essentially they're foretold to turn the world upside down, essentially, if I can say that. Maybe perhaps not to give too much away. And the one of the central figures is the that character or person who's supposed to bring about this upheaval. So that's one of the main characters, and the main character is warrior who is bonded to this person essentially, and is this fierce tribal elite warrior. That is the other main character, and so we see how their paths cross, how they come to meet, how their binding happens, and what goes forward from there. So it's just absolutely brilliant. In terms of a bit more of the world, amongst the tribes that are inspired by these Germanic tribes they are part of the land of Dania. So that's the home of these tribes. The tribes, the Gotari, the Skolani, and the Karpan. And the two Gotari tribes, they're split. So there's the lions, which are called the Amelas, and the wolves, the Wolfas. And then the Skolani, it's essentially an elite, like almost like an Amazon, a female-led warrior tribe. They're known for their martial abilities and their strength, and they have this warrior culture. And amongst that, they have these warriors called blade wielders. And that character I mentioned, the one that's bonded to the main character, that's supposed to be this prophetic figure, she's a blade wielder. So he's the prophetic figure and like a lord, and she's the blade wielder. So this series has spectacular action, amazing battle scenes. Von Roycroft really knows how to craft his action. It's fabulous. It's smooth. It's exciting. It's not overdone. It's really done well. So for indie self-published fantasy writers, he's one of the best I've seen at crafting battle scenes. So if that's something you like, thrilling battle scenes, set in the ancient world, you're definitely gonna love that. He does a fabulous job as well with the political intrigue. That's an integral part of this series. So already there's a lot to love there. But the characters are amazing. The characterization, it's deep. The characters are well drawn. It's really fabulous. So definitely a lot to love there. When it comes to the themes, some of the themes that are explored in this novel, prophecy and destiny is huge here. So that's a big theme. And of course, because the way I described it, it's inspired by the fall of the Roman Empire and the various Germanic tribes that assailed it. So there's that conflict between cultures. There's questions about identity and what it means to be part of a tribe, part of a nation, versus a big colonial empire. Leadership is a huge theme. That's something else you're definitely going to find that's grappled with in this book. Ambition. There's a lot to sink your teeth into thematically here, and it's all this backdrop of this this political maneuvering and the machinations of the colonial empire and all these tribes that are aspiring for more. So the first book essentially it focuses more on how these characters their rise up to power and setting the stage. And then the sequel is more about they explore the survival threats from the first book, and then you see the true ambition of the people from these tribes and what they're trying to accomplish in terms of versus the colonial empire. And then the last book brings everything together and concludes the characters' journey, their arcs, and the overall prophecy that dominates the narrative. So it's really fabulously done. Again, in terms of themes, the concept of barbarity versus being civil. The question of like what defines that? Just because you're part of this colonial empire, does that mean you're civilized? And because you live in these more nomadic tribes, that means you're a barbarian. There's a lot of that that's talked about. Found family, that's another big concept which I know a lot of people love to see in their fantasy books. And of course, when it comes to the prophecy and destiny, the whole idea of this bringer of Uranian, this chosen one, and what that means, and the cost of trying to pursue or fulfill a prophecy, that's another big part of thematically what's going on. So again, as I'm sure you're gathering, there's a lot to like here. There's a lot to absorb, but it's extremely well written, really smooth, tight prose, some beautiful passages along the way that you'll definitely find yourself rereading. It's very accessible though, very accessible, very smooth, very tight. Rather than being lofty, but again, it's extremely well written overall. It has romance. It has all the things that I look for in a fantasy series. This is a extremely mature, well thought out, exceptionally written, well-rounded series that has, all the things that I look for, as I said, that really have propelled this up the ranks to being one of my top 10 in terms of indie science fiction and fantasy series of all time. So when I update that list, thank you, Vaughn, I'll be able to put your book on there. We'll see where it finishes up. I have to do some analysis there before I can actually decide where it's going to wind up on that list, but I know it's going to be on that list. That's how good this series is. So again, if you like thrilling action, you like, if you're into the historical fiction or historical fantasy, milieu, definitely up your alley. Great characterization. The relationships, the dynamics are a big part of that. If you like, again, thrilling and incredibly choreographed battle scenes, Von Wycroft really does a great job there. And thematically, there's a lot of fabulous stuff to explore, as I said. So if that's your bag, this is your series. This is a series you're definitely going to want to get into in indie fantasy, and deserves much more recognition and acclaim. So exceptional job by Von Wycroft. Again, check out that our interview, Vaughn and I, that I had the privilege of interviewing for 6 Elementals interviews, where he talks. It's always best to hear from the author. Forget about me prattling on about the series. Watch that interview and listen to what the author himself says about his writing in his books, what inspires it, and what the series is all about. So that's it. That's my quick video about Sunder Nation and a overview of the series and a review of Destiny's Doom, which is the third and concluding book in the trilogy. This is fantastic. It will definitely wind up on my top indie science fiction and fantasy series of all time, and you should read it. So, yes, and the wonderful Max Garfield stopped by. Hey, Mac, thanks for coming out. Yes, Mac agrees the characters and the chemistry are amazing. Yes, Mac, that is a really, really excellent point, and that drives the narrative. You have the backdrop of this prophecy and this conflict between this empire and these tribes, but yeah, it's the characters that make this series go. It's their chemistry, it's their interpersonal relationship, especially the two main characters. It's their dynamic. They go through some rough things. It is also, I should have mentioned, and I apologize, I've been remiss. One of the things I loved about this series is the way Von Wycroft uses epigraphs in the beginning of many of the chapters, and the epigraphs are essentially the tale of the saga of Danya. So this is a saga written after the events of the trilogy and written by a character named Bryn Bright Eyes. I'm not going to spoil who that is. However, I think that was a feature that I really enjoyed in this particular series. So, because epigraphs, I know for some people they can be hit and miss. These are really well done, and I think it added a lot to this story and just the sense of prophetic visions and and destiny. And it was really, I think the epigraphs were definitely a great added value there in this series. So Max, thanks for stopping by. I hope your reading's going well, my friend. Thanks for everyone who's going to watch this on the replay. But yeah, just a quick overview of the Sunder Nation trilogy, and of course a review of the final book, Destiny's Doom, which I just read. Check out again my interview with Vaughn on 6 Elementals. Check out my Goodreads reviews of, I believe, the first book I have one. But anyways, great series, highly recommended. Read it, and it's going to be one of my top indie self-published fantasy series of all time. And finally, just another quick from Max. So many PVs could easily have been the main characters of their own stories. Yes, and you're quite right, Mac. And perhaps we'll get some novellas with some of the auxiliary characters in there, or who knows what Vaughn will do. But I would love to read more of this universe that he's created, because I think it's outstanding. All right, so thanks again, Matt, for dropping by. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you another time. Take care. Bye-bye now.